Children, after the lesson electrochemistry, today also I am meeting you with an important paper discussion. This is one of the important past paper, support seminar paper published by the Department of Education. We are going to discuss part 2 paper today. You know children, in your O-level science paper, there are two main parts, namely part 1 and part 2. And for the part 1 paper, we have 40 multiple choice questions that you need to select the most suitable answer. In the part 2, there are two sections called structured essay and essay part. Today, I am going to discuss one structured essay paper with you. Okay, we'll move to the questions one by one. Right, this is part 2 structured essay paper. This is the first question and there are 2 or 3 or 4 parts in one structured essay question. By now you have done so many past papers. You know how the structure of the paper is. Right children? This is first question, part A. Here given are 3 ecological pyramids. Children, what are ecological pyramids? You know that these pyramids represent energy and biomass and number of organisms in each tropic levels in ecosystems. What are tropic levels, children? There are several tropic levels called producers, primary consumers, secondary consumers and tertiary consumers. If the energy in each tropic level is represented by a graph like this, it is called an energy pyramid. Likewise, we know that there are 3 types of pyramids: ecological pyramids, energy pyramid, number pyramid and the biomass pyramid. Here given in these pictures are the 3 types of pyramids. Let's see what are the questions given based on these 3 types of pyramids, children. First, name the ecological pyramids given as Y and Z. Here children, how do you select when these 3 types of pyramids are given to you? How do you select which one is energy and which one is number pyramid and which one is biomass pyramid? That's here you have to check, observe the units of the values represented each tropic levels. When the values are represented only by numbers without any unit, that must be the number pyramid. Therefore, here Y must be the number pyramid. And when you go to Z pyramid, children, in Z pyramid, there is a value given as grams per square meter. When the value is given as grams per square meter, that is biomass. Normally the unit of biomass given as grams per square meter. Therefore, this pyramid Z must be biomass pyramid. Okay, right. Let's move to the next questions. What is the value suitable for the blank A in the pyramid X? Children, you know that when the energy pyramid is represented, we put the relevant energies to the each tropic levels, right? And also we know that when the energy flows from one tropic level to the other, only 10% of the energy is transmitted to the next tropic level. You know that 90% of the energy of an organism is lost to the environment, and this loss is called energy dissipation. Only 10% of energy is stored in the body of the organism. If one organism takes this particular organism as its food, only 10% is transmitted to the next trophic level. Now you can see in the pyramid X, children, 20,000 joules of energy is there in the first trophic level producers. From 20,000 joules, only 10% is transmitted to the next level. What is the amount of 10% out of 20,000 joules? 2,000. Then 2,000 joules of energy is transmitted to the next trophic level to the primary consumers. Then from 2,000 joules, again only 10% is transmitted to the next. Therefore, what should comes to the blank A, children? 10% out of 2,000 joule, that is 200 joules. Then the answer for the blank A is 200 joules. Okay? Right. Go to the next question. All these questions are based on these three ecological pyramids, children. Out of X, Y and Z, which pyramids have the possibility to be inverted? You know that energy pyramid is never inverted, children, because only 10% of energy is transmitted to the from one trophic level to the other, then it cannot be inverted. But number pyramid and the biomass pyramid can be inverted. How this happen, children? Why? Why I say that number pyramid and the biomass pyramid can be inverted? Because now think about a certain environment like this. There's a big tree, the number of producers is 1. And there are hundreds number of primary consumers, small insects can live on that tree and can feed on this particular large tree. When there are number of maybe 100, 200 of primary consumers are there, then the next trophic level, the number of organisms in the upper trophic level increases than primary producers. Therefore, number pyramid and the biomass pyramid can be inverted except energy pyramid. So, what's the answer for the question? Which pyramids can be inverted, children? Y and Z. Y and Z are, Y represents number pyramid, Z represents biomass pyramid. Okay, right. Next, write a food chain to represent trophic levels given above. You know, children, when a food chain is written, right, always the first link of the food chain must be a green plant or a part of it. Don't forget, children, first link must be a green plant or a part of it. Then accordingly the organisms must be placed. Organisms, those who depend on green plants, plant matter comes to the next, second link, and sometimes carnivorous or omnivorous organisms come to the third link. Likewise, food chain must be written. You have learned how to write food chains in previous grades, from grade 6 onwards, children. But sometimes when you come to grade 11, you forget all these things. Sometimes we have found some students put the arrowheads to the opposite way when the food chain is written. This is completely wrong, children. Remember. Now, I have selected a most common food chain that is familiar to you. See this? Grass, grasshopper, frog, snake. It is the most common food chain that we have written from grade 6 onwards. Okay, children? Here the grass is the producer, green plant. Then grasshopper is the primary consumer. Frog is the secondary consumer. Snake is the tertiary consumer. Okay, right. Then, next question, number 5 of part A. If a heavy metal enters the above ecosystem, which organism embodies the highest concentration of it? Normally, children, you know that heavy metals are the poisonous substances that enter through food chains, right? Normally, what are the examples for heavy metals, children? Arsenic, cadmium, mercury, lead, copper, all can be considered as heavy metals. Why? They are metallic elements with high relative atomic mass. Such metallic elements are considered as heavy metals. What's the problem of heavy metals? Children, when these heavy metals enter through food and drinks to our body, they pass to the kidneys, nephrons. When the substances are filtered in nephrons, these heavy metals make troubles. Heavy metals damages the kidney. Nephron functions are badly affected due to heavy metals. Normally, these heavy metals are collected along the food chains in the bodies of organisms, and most highest concentration is gained to the organisms that are at the last link of the food chain. Last link of the food chain. Understood, children? If I take the food chain that I have written here, what's the food chain, children? Grass, grasshopper, frog, snake. Then in the body of the snake, most highest concentration of heavy metal is collected. Okay, right. Next. This is the complete part A part that we have discussed so far. If you have any trouble or if you have forgotten answers, please go through this, children. And also, I required you to be seated at a proper place, children, when you watch this. And also, don't forget to keep a pen and some rough worksheets to do some simplifications with me. Okay? Right. Then we will move to the next part of the same question. This is part B. Here in this table, you can see number of kidney patients found in a certain province in Sri Lanka in certain years in the past. Okay, right. These are the number of patients suffered from chronic kidney disease. You know what the chronic kidney disease, CKD, right? What you have to do here, children? What you have to do? You must represent this data into the graph given here. This is something related to mathematics, children. You know, you have learned how to represent certain set of data given in a graph, right? Here you can draw a bar graph or a line graph. No matter, you can draw whatever. I'll show you how to represent this data into this graph. Okay, children? Now look at here, right? Here it says in the year 2011, there are 250 number of kidney patients. Here in this year 2011, I can put this, right, 250. Then 600 in the year 2012. 600 is somewhere here. Then I can put here the mark. Then 750 is somewhere here, children, in 2013. Then 2000 in the year 2014. Number of kidney patients is 2000. And finally, in the year 2015, it is 5000. If I connect these lines, here children, we can get a line like this. Okay. This is how you have to draw the graph using given data. See, these are the two possible graphs that can be drawn based on these data. See, if we draw a bar graph, it's like that. Here the bar graph, you can see the line graph. Okay, now go to the question, children. According to the data given, what prediction can you make about the distribution of CKD, chronic kidney disease? What prediction that can be made, children? Here we can say number of kidney patients have increased with the time. That's only we can say. It is obvious now by the graph, children. Number of kidney patients have increased with the time. Okay, this is the answer. Then move to the next question, children. This diagram shows a sketch of the carbon cycle in the biosphere. We have learned carbon cycle and the nitrogen cycle, both, children. Can you remember? Just try to remind now. In the carbon cycle, you know that atmospheric carbon dioxide is absorbed by green plants for the process photosynthesis. It is the only way that carbon dioxide removes from the atmosphere. But there are many ways of releasing carbon dioxide to the atmosphere by the respiration of organisms, both plants and animals, and due to the combustion of fossil fuels from thermal power stations, due to burning of garbage. There are many ways of releasing carbon dioxide to the atmosphere. Anyway, carbon cycle represents how the element carbon moves through each component of an ecosystem. We will go to the questions based on this, children, right? Name the process X. Here you can see, children, if you observe this carbon cycle properly, the process X represents photosynthesis. It is the only way, as I told you, children, it is the only way that carbon dioxide is absorbed from the atmosphere. Then the answer for the question, photosynthesis. Next question. Write a difference between the process X and the Y here. What is Y process, children? Now we have recognized process X is photosynthesis. What is Y? Y is the way it represents releasing carbon dioxide to the atmosphere. Then Y is respiration. X photosynthesis, Y respiration. Then we have to write a difference between process photosynthesis and respiration. Okay, we will get the difference, children. Just think about this. For the process photosynthesis, carbon dioxide is absorbed. But for respiration, during respiration, carbon dioxide is released. this is one best difference, no? And also during photosynthesis, oxygen is released. But during respiration, oxygen is absorbed. It is another difference. And we'll take one more difference, children. See, first difference, X is photosynthesis. X absorbs CO2 while Y releases CO2. That's the difference, first difference. See the next difference, children. X takes place in green plants only. But why? Y is respiration. Respiration takes place in all the living organisms. This is also can be taken as a difference between X and Y. Now we are moving to the next question, part D of question number 2. P and Q given below are breakfast taken by 2 persons in Colombo. Have a look on these 2 tables, children. Please go through. Please just observe. Right. Take meal P, the meal given in the upper table. What can you see here? Here there are red rice, potato curry, sambal and pepper. 4 items. And then see the meal Q. Basmati rice, potato curry, onion sambal and an apple. Right. Then in the same tables, it is given the distance to the place of production of these items. This is something related to the food mile, children, right? We have to calculate at the end, we have to calculate food mile of separately for the meal P and Q, right? Here when you observe the distance to the place of production of each food item in the 2 meals, you can observe, children, for the meal P, distance given are very short, right? 2 miles, 90 miles as the potato is taken from Nuwara, Sri Lanka. Then coconut is taken from Anuradhapura, then 80 miles. And if the pepper is taken from the own home garden, 0 miles, right. Then when we take the food items given in meal Q, basmati rice, we have to import basmati rice from Pakistan. Then what's the distance, children? It's long, right? It's 1720 miles. And then potato, India. You know that we import potato mainly from India, then 925 miles. And onion also from India, same distance. And apple, from where we import apple, children? Suppose we import apple mainly from Australia. So what's the distance? Very long, right? That's 4,000 miles. If we calculate the food miles for each meal, children, you get, say, P 2 plus 90 plus 80 plus 0, 172 miles. For meal Q, 1720 plus 925 plus 925 plus 4000. What's the distance? 7,520 miles. What can you say about the 2 food miles, children? The food mile of P is very short, but Q is very long. Then which one is best for a country like Sri Lanka, children? The meal P is best. Meal P is best. Why? We'll see the reasons. See, according to the above values, which type of meals are more important? P. What's the reason? These are the reasons, children. When the food mile is shortened, They are the food items are eco-friendly, less environment pollution, less transport cost, appreciating local things, increase of sustainability. See, so many things. We can consume fresh food, natural food, without artificial flavors and all, because we don't need to put much more artificial preservatives as we can consume natural food. That's important for the healthy body, children, for the health condition. And as it involves very less cost, this is economically advantageous for a developing country like Sri Lanka. Understood, children? Right. This is the second question. When you see the diagram here, given this diagram, children, now you are remembering the things you have learned, right? Okay. Where did you observe this diagram for the first time? In grade 10, part 1 book, right? In the lesson chapter 8, characteristics of living beings. Can you remember, children? What's the purpose that we did this activity? What's the purpose of learning this activity? Why did we learn this activity? This activity was learned to prove that carbon dioxide gas is released during respiration. To prove that carbon dioxide gas is released during respiration. In the activity given in your textbook, children, here in the C flask, we used a frog. Instead of a frog, here we have placed, in this question, we have placed grasshoppers. Only difference is that. Other things are same, similar, right? Okay. Before move to the questions, children, I will explain actually what will happen here. I will explain. When air flows from outside through the system, first atmospheric air enters a flask. Inside the flask A, potassium hydroxide is placed. From the air entering from outside, you know that mainly oxygen and carbon dioxide gases are available. This potassium hydroxide in flask A absorb carbon dioxide gas. Then the air entering B doesn't contain carbon dioxide. In B flask we have placed lime water, colorless lime water. Colorless lime water doesn't show any change because there's no CO2 in entering air. To confirm that CO2 is absent in entering air, colorless lime water is placed in flask B. Then in the air entering to C, no CO2 but oxygen is available. And due to the respiration of grasshoppers, carbon dioxide gas release. Then when the air entered D flask, carbon dioxide gas is available because carbon dioxide has released by the respiration of grasshoppers. As carbon dioxide is available, lime water, colorless lime water in last flask, D flask, turn milky. This is how we confirm that carbon dioxide gas is released during respiration. Now we will move to the questions, children, right? Which device should be connected to the end X for the functioning of this setup? Children, where's end X? Where's end X? End X is here, this. When a suction pump is connected to this end, children, air draws by the suction pump. This enables to flow air continuously from outside to the initial flask. Understood? Then what's the device? Suction pump. Suction pump. Okay? Next question. Even though the device mentioned in one above is connected, this does not function due to a defect. What is the defect here, children? The defect, I think you may have identified the defect, children. Look at flask B here. In flask B, Q tube is inserted to the fluid, children, but P is not inserted. When the Q is inserted to the liquid, lime water, then how can airflow occurs to the other? Airflow is blocked? No. Airflow is blocked. Then this must be the defect here. Therefore, that Q tube in the flask B must be shortened and P tube must be inserted to the solution, lime water. This is the defect in this particular setup. Okay? Right. Next question. Write the purpose of each of the following used in the setup. What's the purpose of using potassium hydroxide, children? Potassium hydroxide in the first flask is used to absorb carbon dioxide in entering air. To absorb carbon dioxide. Then why colorless lime water in flask B is used? To ensure that there is no carbon dioxide in air enter into C. After going through mixing through potassium hydroxide in the first flask, children, carbon dioxide is absorbed by potassium hydroxide. Then there is no CO2 enter into B. To confirm that there is no CO2, lime water is used. Finally, why lime water is used in final flask? That is to identify the carbon dioxide released by grasshoppers. Thereby we can confirm that grasshoppers have released CO2 by their respiration. Okay, children? Right. Now look at this table. Here are some characteristics of invertebrates. Characteristics of invertebrates. Okay. Here you can see P, shell made of calcium carbonate. What's the group, children? The group of organisms having a shell made of calcium carbonate, that group is mollusca. Remember. Jointed legs. Jointed legs is available for the group Arthropoda. Spiny body covering. Spiny body covering is available to the group Echinodermata. Two-layered body, diploblastic body is available for Cnidaria or Coelenterata. Chitinous exoskeleton, two available for the group Arthropoda. Now, what's the question? Out of above, what are the characteristics shown by grasshoppers? Grasshoppers belong to the group Arthropoda. Then what are the characteristics, children? Jointed legs and chitinous exoskeleton. That is Q and T are the characteristics of arthropods. Okay. Next question. Write the letters of the characteristics not shown by grasshoppers. That means not shown by arthropods. That means without Q and T, what are the other letters, children? Without Q and T, the other letters are P, R, S. As I told you, what are the groups relevant to P, R, S characteristics? Here, P mollusca, R Echinodermata, S Coelenterata or Cnidaria. Look at the next part. Shown below are electron microscopic diagrams of few cell organelles. Can you recognize cells here, children? Cellular structures, cell organelles here. X, Golgi bodies, Golgi complex. Y, nucleus. Z, mitochondrion. Now you have to fill in the blanks of this table. Right. See what you have to fill. Here you have to recognize the cell organelle, then you have to name it, and then you have to give the function, main function of each. The function of X organelle Golgi complex is given here. We will see one by one. X, what is the function? Secretion and transport of substances. Organelle is Golgi complex. Y, nucleus, what is the function? Controlling cellular activities. Z, mitochondrion, what is the function? Production of energy by cellular respiration. Cellular respiration. Okay. Move to the next question. Here it says 4 setups A, B, C and D are arranged using calcium carbonate and dilute hydrochloric acid to study the factors affecting the rate of a reaction. Observe the table clearly, children. Setup A, see the reactants taken, calcium carbonate in powder form, 50 grams mass. Concentration of acid 1 mole per cubic decimeter. Temperature of the setup 30 Celsius. See setup B, 50 grams in powder form, same mass, same surface area, same physical nature. Concentration 2 moles per cubic decimeter. Concentration has increased. Then temperature same 30. In C, 50 grams, same mass but in pieces. Then the surface area of reactants has changed, right? Same concentration, same temperature. Likewise, in each setup, children, each factor has changed. Now, what's the question? Go to the question. Pair of setup, and you have to compare in each pair of setup and find whether which factor affecting the rate of a reaction is tested. Can be tested by each. Okay, we'll go one by one. When we compare A and B, children, both A and B same powdered form reactants, physical nature or the surface area of reactants same temperature. Here you can see 30-30, same temperature. What is the different factor? Only the concentration is different. If only the concentration is different in two setups, then which factor affecting the rate of a reaction can be tested, children? Concentration of reactants. Concentration of reactants. When we compare B and C, children, B and C, here see B powder, in the powder form the reactant and pieces form. Concentration same, 2 mole per cubic decimeter, temperature also same. Then which factor affecting the rate of reaction is tested? Surface area of reactants or physical nature of reactants. When we compare B and D, only difference here in these setups is temperature. If the temperature only differ in the two setups, then we can test the effect of temperature on the rate of the chemical reaction. Okay, right. Now we are moving to the next question. Name the gas produced by the reaction between calcium carbonate and dilute HCl. You know children, when any bicarbonate or carbonate is reacted with a dilute acid, which is the gas released? The gas carbon dioxide is released. Okay, right. Then write an activity to identify the gas mentioned here. The gas mentioned here is CO2. How do we identify CO2 in the lab, children? When CO2 gas is sent through colorless lime water turns milky. If colorless lime water turns milky, we can confirm that the gas sent is carbon dioxide. Okay, children? Right. Next question. Here, the table shows the results of experiments done at the laboratory to compare the reactivity of three metals. Right. Just observe the table, children. Metal P doesn't react with hot water according to the table, but it reacts with steam and dilute acid. If a certain metal doesn't react with hot water, and if that react with steam and dilute acid, definitely that metal can be zinc O, iron O, aluminium, because these three metals react with steam and dilute acid too. Okay. For the sake of information for the further questions, children, shall we just put a mark? Here I will write the metal P as zinc. Okay. Then take metal Q. It doesn't react with hot water, nor with steam, nor with dilute acid. Even a metal doesn't react with dilute acid, children. That should be a metal below in the activity series, below to hydrogen. We will take copper, right? Normally copper doesn't react with dilute acid, no. Then this metal Q can be copper, right? Then take metal R. R reacts with hot water and steam too, and dilute acid too. Then R can be a metal like magnesium. By identifying the three metals like this, arrange P, Q, R in descending order of their reactivity. Now it is easy to put them into the descending order, right children? Magnesium is the highly reactive one, then R is the highly reactive one, then P, finally Q. This is how we arrange. R, P, Q is the order. Then out of P, Q, R, which metal is below hydrogen in the activity series? The metal that doesn't react with dilute acid should lie below hydrogen in the activity series. Then what's the metal here? Q. Q is the metal. Then which metal out of PQR can be used to give cathodic protection to iron? Children, what is cathodic protection? When metal iron is in contact with the metal highly reactive than iron, iron becomes the cathode and reduction reaction takes place near iron. Then because of that, iron is prevented from corrosion. This is called cathodic protection. To give cathodic protection, iron must be in contact with a metal highly reactive than iron in the activity series. Then what are the metals here highly reactive than iron? P and R, that's zinc and magnesium. P and R. Okay. Right, now we have identified the three metals, children. I have given here in a table, small table, what are the relevant metals for P, Q, R. Okay, now look at the other questions given here. Out of P and R, which could be used as a electrode? Here given diagram is a galvanic cell or electrochemical cell here, children. Normally you know that in an electrochemical cell there are two electrodes. One electrode is oxidized, releasing electrons, and other electrode is reduced. When the electrons are released by one electrode, electrons flow through the external conductor to the other electrode. Because that there is electron flow, current flow is created here. Such a setup is called as an electrochemical cell or a galvanic cell. Here it shows you to which directions electrons flow, children. Here electron flows towards from A electrode to B. This is the direction, children. Right? That means electrode that is oxidized must be electrode A. Normally we use, children, we use as two common metals that are used as electrodes in galvanic cells are zinc and copper. Therefore, this A electrode can be a zinc electrode, zinc metal. So, which can be used as A electrode? P or zinc. Then at which electrode does the following half reaction takes place? What's the half reaction given here, children? Half reaction 2H++, 2 electrons and producing hydrogen. As this reaction receive electron, this is a reduction reaction. The reduction reaction must takes place near the cathode. Then what is the cathode here, children? Cathode is B electrode. Then near which electrode oxidation takes place? Oxidation takes place near anode. Which is the anode here? A electrode. Okay, children, right. Now look at the next part of the question. Name a solution which could be used as X here. This setup given here is arranged to plate copper on a brass spoon. We know that, children, when we want to plate copper, definitely the solution must be a salt solution that containing copper metal. Most common copper containing salt is copper sulfate. Therefore, here as the solution we can use copper sulfate or any salt that containing metal copper. Right? Next, show in the diagram how to connect a cell between P and Q. Remember, children, when plating something, definitely the object that is plated must be connected to the negative terminal of the battery. That object must be placed as the cathode of this electrolytic cell, negative terminal. Therefore, now we have to plate copper on brass spoon here. Then definitely brass spoon must be connected to the negative terminal of the power source or the battery. Let me show you how to connect this particular battery or the dry cell in between these two. This is the negative terminal and this is the positive terminal. Then these two must be connected like this. Right. This is how the battery must be connected, children. Okay? Right. Name the anode and cathode in this setup. Children, as I told you always, oxidation takes place at the anode. reduction takes place at the cathode. Here definitely brass spoon must be the cathode and copper electrode must be the anode. Right. Write the anodic reaction here. Anodic reaction, if it is a reaction takes place near the anode, children, definitely it should be an oxidation reaction. Here anode is the copper electrode. Then what happens near copper electrode, children? Copper metal, solid atoms of copper release 2 electrons and become copper 2 plus aqueous ion. Copper 2 plus aqueous ion. This is the anodic reaction. Now the fourth question, children. Here the setup arranged to study the factors affecting resistance using wires PQRS. Children, these you can see in the diagram. P, Q, R are all nichrome wires. P and Q, when we take P and Q, P has a greater diameter, higher thickness, Q less thickness. R also a nichrome wire of the thickness same to Q, but the length is short, length is less. S only a wire of copper with the same length and the same diameter to Q. Okay, children? Right. Now, what we have to do? Here, when this movable contact is placed at the end of each PQRS, we have to compare the brightness of the bulb. Depending on the current flows through the circuit, depending on the resistance affected to the circuit, brightness of the bulb changes. We will see one by one. When we compare P and Q, children, the bulb glows more brighter with P. Why? When the P and Q is compared, bulb glows more brighter with P, children, because P has a high cross-sectional area. When a wire conductor has a high cross-sectional area, its resistance decreases. Because of the decrease in resistance, current flow increases and the bulb glows brightly. Then which factor affecting resistance is tested, can be tested? Cross-sectional area. Right. Then by which pair the length of the wire can be tested, children? When we take length of the wire, right, Q and R, when we take Q and R, same diameter, same material, only the length is changed, only the length, right. Then with which the bulb brightly lighted? With R, because R has less length. When it has less length, children, resistance less. When we compare Q and S, the bulb light brightly with S because S is a copper wire. Copper wire has less resistivity. Because of that, copper wire gives a less resistance. Okay. Here, the two diagrams are the two instances of connecting resistors, children. How to find the equivalent resistance when the two resistors are connected here? When the two resistors are connected in series like this, equivalent equals R plus R equals 2R. When the two resistors are connected in parallel like this, children, we know that equivalent resistance is obtained by taking the value of one resistor and dividing this by number of resistors. What is number of resistors here? 2. Then equivalent or the total resistance is R over 2. This is the last part of this question, children. The diagram shows a model of a direct current motor, DC motor. State the magnetic field in this setup is from P to Q or Q to P. It is from P to Q. Why? North pole of the magnet is here, children. Always magnetic field is acted from north pole to south pole. Therefore, the magnetic field is from P to Q. Name R and T. Both R and T belong to the commutator. R here are split rings, T carbon brushes or carbon brush. Why it is required to break R into two parts, children? It is to supply a continuous direct current. With that, we are going to conclude the paper discussion today, children. I hope that you got a very good understanding of the most important concepts in your syllabus, and I hope that this will be a great help for you to face your O-level exam successfully. See you again with the next part of a paper discussion, children. Goodbye, children.